Donald Trump is already a lame duck president. We do not have to wait till the midterms to know that Donald Trump is about to lose a historic number of seats in an absolute wipeout. And that is why he is doing everything he possibly can as his MAGA coalition fractures to hold on to power. And that includes claiming that he will illegally run for a third term in 2028. But someone who is now exposing in a leak the illegality of Donald Trump's election plans is Elon Musk, dropping an election bombshell exposing Trump in a leaked call that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into how Elon is blowing up Donald Trump's election crime, I want to start with what we all need to hear right now to bring a smile to our face, and that's just how poorly Donald Trump is polling, because it's the context for his election freakout.
The new Gallup poll out today is terrible news for the president, just absolutely terrible. His approval rating right now is -24. The president is 24 points underwater in his approval rating. 36% of the country approves of him, 60% disapproves. Just absolutely stunning, not even 1 year in. And on the issues, it's even worse. It's worse just because it's so relentlessly bad for him. No ray of light anywhere here. Do you approve of President Trump on the issue of crime? No, by a 9-point margin. Do you approve of President Trump on the issue of foreign affairs? No, by a 15-point margin. Do you approve of Trump on trade? No, by a 19-point margin. Do you approve of Trump on immigration, right? He really wants you to love him on the issue of immigration. No, the American people do not approve of his handling of immigration. And what's the margin? The margin is 25 points. The American people disapprove of his handling of immigration more than they approve of it by 25 percentage points. Turns out all those propaganda videos of you being mean to immigrants aren't working. Do you approve of Trump on how he is handling things in the Middle East? No, by a 25-point margin. Do you approve of how Trump is handling the economy? No, 26-point margin. Do you approve of how he's handling the Russia and Ukraine war? No, by a 29-point margin. Do you approve of his handling of the budget? No, by a 33-point margin. Do you approve of his handling of health care? No, also by a 33-point margin. Last week, you might remember me saying on this show at this time, President Trump and the Republicans said they had a fix for the disaster they have created on Americans' health insurance premiums. But then, for some reason, last week they got shy. They unveiled precisely nothing on the subject. It's been a week now since they said they were going to unveil their fix. Still nothing. This is getting to be a really urgent thing. Tens of millions of Americans are going to see their health insurance costs spike through the roof.
Donald Trump is historically unpopular right now, and it is not just amongst Democrats and independents, although his numbers with independents have never, ever been lower. But he is also underwater in many ways with his own MAGA coalition. We see the resignation of Marjorie Taylor Greene splintering, Republican members of Congress saying that they're resigning or not running for re-election. Of course, the Epstein cover-up has Donald Trump in hot water with his base, and so things are pretty tough. He's struggling to hold on to power. He's threatening any Republican who stands up to him, which are a lot of them recently. But in an effort to still pretend like he has power, he's been floating that he's running in 2028 and having his stooges push it as well.
So let me ask you about Trump 2028. We have a 22nd Amendment, which bars anybody from running for a third term. Do you think that that's not a barrier for him, or how do you see that?
I think that there are many different alternatives that at the appropriate time after the midterms in 26, we will roll out. But I think there are many different alternatives to make sure that President Trump is on the ballot. And if he's on the ballot, he'll win.
So Donald Trump, we know, is the most insecure man in America, and he wants the constant praise heaped on him. And maybe more than anything, Donald Trump just wants to sell the merch. But why is he talking about 2028 so much? Because Donald Trump knows, as we have seen so many Republicans say, including Thomas Massie, that the end is very much near for Donald Trump's MAGA coalition. And you have to be thinking not about what Donald Trump wants from you in this moment, but what will best serve your interest if you're a Republican going forward. Of course, they're not worried about actually serving us or their constituents. They're focused on their own political career, but in the future, that will not include Donald Trump. So he's been holding this 2028 thread over the base to maintain power, to maintain authority, but someone just blew it up, and it's his former biggest backer, Elon Musk. Exclusive. Elon Musk predicts 12 years of Trump-Vance. Musk was bullish on the GOP's presidential prospects at a Doge reunion in Texas, where he appeared virtually, citing fears of assassination. During a video appearance at a reunion of his former federal cost-cutting team, Elon Musk predicted that the country is at the start of a great 12-year span composed of the second Trump administration, followed by 2 consecutive J.D. Vance terms. Musk made the prognostication on November 22nd before current and former Doge members gathered inside a Musk-owned high-ceiling building near his SpaceX and Boring Co. facilities in Bastrop, Texas, according to 2 attendees and another person familiar with the private event, all of whom were granted anonymity to discuss it candidly. Musk dialed into the reunion at the Boring Bodega convenience store from what appeared to be a pitch-black, undisclosed location, the people said. He addressed roughly 150 current and former members of the Doge team, the group Musk installed across federal agencies at the start of the Trump administration to slash federal spending and jobs, along with some of their family members who had flown in for the gathering. The participants had their phones stored in security pouches until buses came to pick them up when the event concluded. I think that detail there is very important, that Elon wanted the utmost secrecy when discussing how he felt about future political endeavors that he will be a part of. But what he is saying here that is so damaging to Donald Trump is that he is already thinking about the future. He has all of his dollars lined up to back J.D. Vance. This is something that we have talked about extensively on the show, how all of the tech guys who pushed for Vance to be the vice presidential nominee have one focus right now, and that's making sure that Vance is the presidential nominee come 2028. It's not supporting Donald Trump. It's not backing him up. It's not getting behind a ridiculous plan for him to try to run in 2028. No. They're focused on J.D. Vance, and they have given up on Donald Trump, and Elon Musk has probably changed the Twitter algorithm a little bit to stop being as helpful to Donald Trump. But why is this important right now? Well, first of all, it's important as we look at the context of where Donald Trump's presidency is standing. We are not even a year into it. He is already a lame duck without even experiencing the historic midterm wipeout that is coming to him. And Donald Trump no longer has the big backers that he used to. They have moved on. But why have they moved on to Vance? Vance, who will have to frame himself as an economic populist who has always been focused on affordability after we come out of what will be a disastrous economic 4 years under the Trump administration. Why is it that they are getting behind J.D. Vance? Well, J.D. Vance was brought up by billionaire Peter Thiel, the founder of Palantir, the surveillance company that has been getting billions of our tax dollars to create the most gruesome and terrifying technologies to assist agencies like ICE in tracking down, attacking, and terrorizing Americans. Peter Thiel, who is part of that PayPal mafia, right, those Silicon Valley tech guys that include Elon Musk and the rest of that cohort, Peter Thiel has long been a fan and political backer of J.D. Vance. He helped him start his career in Silicon Valley as a venture capitalist, in which he really didn't do anything, a la Jared Kushner. He also essentially bought J.D. Vance's Senate seat. In 2022, he spent $15 million for Vance to win his primary in Ohio. And then, of course, he was instrumental in getting Vance on the ticket. Vance will pretend that he cares about affordability, but what Vance really cares about is helping the tech oligarchs who put him in politics and will try to push him towards the presidency. Why? Because they have an interest in what the government is spending its money on. Now, this isn't just the normal set of handouts and big blank checks that the government is always giving to corporations and the richest among us. No, they are focused on one thing. That is AI, making sure that the government is spending as much money on it as possible and regulating it as little as possible. That is what they're focused on. This is not the top 1% trying to get rich. This is about 5 guys trying to get richer than we ever could have imagined on the back of AI, something that is inherently damaging, that will cost tens of millions of American jobs, that will cost more than we ever could have imagined in energy consumption that is driving up your electric bills, and they want J.D. Vance in the Oval Office to sign off on all of it. That is why they are focused on him right now. That is why they have already forgotten about Donald Trump, and we need to keep that in mind, especially as we are continuing to move towards election after election, because we have one tonight, and Ari Melber broke down the stakes right here.
It is a House race that in different years might not be that big a deal, but now has huge national implications. Republicans are defending a seat they should by any normal stretch be in a position to win. Indeed, this district went for Trump by 22 points, but what a difference a year makes. Polls show a much tighter race than you would usually see in such ruby red territory. Republicans are, quote, sweating either a close result or even potentially losing the seat. That's how the Washington Post and Politico both described it. Democrats had their big sweep last month. This is a race we will be watching across MS Now tonight and for the hours ahead. I can tell you the polls close in 2 hours. The wider context is that Trump is, of course, in one of the worst periods of this young second term. The Dem sweep, which sets the table for tonight, was the first of several weeks of bruising bad news for Donald Trump, that even if he and the world stepped away for Thanksgiving break, has returned to a similar tough picture, and that's before we know what happens tonight. Hundreds of Washington Republicans, of course, revolted against Trump over his probably biggest political vulnerability and oddest charge that he's faced in this whole first year of the term, where Donald Trump basically went out of his way to repeatedly minimize and defend a sex trafficker, refusing the transparency he once vowed and giving lenience to that trafficker's co-conspirator. That's just a capsule summary of what Republicans ultimately had to revolt against rather than defend when there was a vote. Top Republicans, though, have not stopped there. It would seem that, as we heard from some of our experts during that week, what started wasn't just going to end, because if the emperor had no clothes, or whatever phrase you want to use, Republicans found that they did have a voice.
This is incredibly important, not just as a marker for the temperature of the failing Trump presidency, but to have an incredible candidate like Afton Bain is something that the Democratic Party should be thinking about and trying to replicate going forward. We are going to continue to talk about that, as you know, on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.